I've received a handful of questions about wrestling media that I enjoy. And so today we're going to go over a couple of websites, a couple of YouTube channels, just a couple of different things that I really enjoy in the wrestling space that I believe is vetted and usually correct, as well as just fun to look at. We're going to start off with the websites. One of the websites that I use very often is Cage Match. Now, Cage Match is sort of like the Wikipedia for wrestling. Now, with that, there is some incorrect information on Cage Match, so you do have to do your due diligence and double check a handful of things, but for the most part, it is usually pretty close to accurate, and it's a great way to just find some new things out about wrestlers that you might not have known, as well as finding out about events that are happening that day or in the future. That's what I mostly use it for, is to just check dates on things and look at a few things in the history of a wrestler. Now, a lot of the things with histories of wrestlers, you need to double check on a second source, but usually it's a great starting point if you're just trying to figure a few things out. The next website is the Smackdown Hotel. Now, this one doesn't have a ton of news outside of the wrestling video game space. They do a lot with WWE 2K, and if AEW had a continual game, they probably do a lot with them as well. But one of the big things that I look at Smackdown Hotel for is the roster page. They keep an updated list of the current rosters as well as historic rosters. One of my favorite things to do is going back to specific dates and just checking out who was on the roster for that day. So it's super fun to just look at. For example, we can go to the WWE page and let's go to year 2014 and we'll go January 18th and we can submit it. And once it loads, you got a full list of everybody who worked for the WWE on that day, which is super helpful if you're trying to narrow down a wrestler that you might not know, but you have a date of a match. You just don't know what their name is or what they were going by at that time. They have all of that there, and it's a great resource just for the curious of us who are watching just random matches on YouTube. The next one I use a lot is Fightful. Now, I am subscribed to their Patreon, and I do recommend you subscribe to their Patreon. They have news exclusives that are on their Patreon behind a $5 paywall. Isn't that bad? There's a lot more expensive ways to get this news. So $5, I say it's well worth it. But Fightful is well vetted, and Sean Ross Sapp works very hard to make sure his information is correct and accurate. Now, like him or not, sometimes I'm in and out on old Sean Ross Sapp, but I do respect him and I respect the work that he does because he does a lot to make sure that his information is correct. And that is very, very respectable to do in the wrestling world. There is a lot of misinformation out there, a lot of conjecture posted as truth. And so it is important to pay attention to the people who are vetting and have sourced their information, and Sean Ross Sapp and Fightful do that very, very well. So big shout out to them, big fan of them. I keep up with what they post, and they do live shows here and there, which are great. It's usually just Sean, so make sure to check those out. He'll do questions and answers. It's a very, very good platform, very informative, and helps you keep up to date as best as they can. Now, the next website is bodyslam.net. Big fan of Bodyslam. They also are very well vetted, and they make sure that their information is accurate, and they are not afraid to walk back something that they find out is not true. I have a handful of friends that work for Bodyslam, and I may or may not be doing something with them very soon. Still working out some details, but I do have a deep love for Bodyslam. They do a lot of live shows for just about every major American wrestling promotion. So if you are a fan of AEW, TNA, GCW, WWE, they have after shows for just about every single thing that happens. So make sure to check those out. They are a lot of fun. They do interact really well and answer questions and just talk about the show just right after it happened. It's a lot of fun to watch. You'll catch me in a handful of them if you want to see me anywhere. But Bodyslam is something I would very highly recommend you check out if you're looking for a news source for wrestling. And now we'll move into a little bit more on the entertainment side with some YouTube channels that I highly recommend. One of them being Wrestling Colin. He does a lot with Japanese wrestling, especially some of the older Japanese wrestling. He does a lot of cool documentaries, usually somewhere in the market of 20 to 30 minutes. So great watch if you just got some time just to sit down and watch something. I highly recommend Wrestling Colin. Couldn't think of a better Japanese focused wrestling channel. Another one that does a lot of docu-series, as you could call them, is Drop Mick Wrestling. Fantastic channel. They do a lot of AEW focused videos though, and they are quite long, but they do catalog a lot of information and go over a large period of time. So it is incredibly fun to watch, awesome to watch and learn, especially if these are things that you might not have watched AEW or you're new to AEW. This is a great channel to check out. I highly recommend it. Couldn't recommend it any more highly. Now the videos are long. Videos are very long, so you will have to have some time to sit down and watch them or split it into parts, but I could not recommend it enough. I would do reactions to his videos on the channel, but they are quite long and I just don't have it in me to react for that long. I've got to be honest. But they are great videos, fantastic videos. Couldn't recommend them enough. Another channel that is less information and more just fun is Wrestling Gifts, or Pav. Pav is a great channel. We've reacted to some of the videos here. I am a big fan of his work. He does a lot of stuff with the WWE 2K games, and he also did a whole series on the 2009 pay-per-views, which I thought was great. It was a great series. We will be reacting to some of those later on. I do have a long list of videos to react to. I did post that poll that did get a vote that said to bring it back, and that was enough for me to do it. So by the time this is posted, we should have one reaction video out and with another one coming Friday, but I have a long list and a lot of his videos are on that list, so we will be getting to them soon. But I would recommend going and watching them for yourself, going and subscribing to the channel. Definitely a fun channel to watch if you've got 15-20 minutes to sit down and watch a good video. Another one is Pinfalls and Pixels. Big shout out to Glocky, a friend of the channel. He's a huge supporter and I want to do my best to support him as well. I've reacted to a handful of his videos and he has put out some great videos, some history about WWE and just random things within WWE that don't exist anymore that nobody's really talking about. So it's really cool to see. Like, he did one on Mattel figures, which was awesome. That video was so good. I did a reaction on that. You can check it out on my channel, or you can go to Glocky's channel and check that out with Pinfalls and Pixels. That is another channel. We have a lot of videos on the backlog to watch, so be on the lookout for those. Another one is Mid Card. Shout out to Carlos, friend of mine. Great channel. He does a lot of cool videos. Recently he's been talking about the wrestling show that was on MTV. Very great series. Go check that out for sure. We haven't done any reactions to it, but it is on that long list that I have of videos to react to, so make sure to go check him out. Well worth your time. What a great dude. One of the reasons why I am doing YouTube right now, so big shout out to him. I can't think of enough for what he's done for me and this channel, so make sure to go show some love to Midcard. He deserves it. He deserves the world. And one last YouTube channel that I would recommend checking out is Don Lucha. Big fan of Don Lucha. He is also a friend of the channel. He does a lot of great videos, usually in the 20 to 30 minute range. He also has sort of these podcast style videos that can go up to an hour, so definitely go check him out if you've got the time. I would highly recommend him. He does do live as well on Kick, so if you are looking for someone to talk wrestling, talk lucha, just have a good time and talk about wrestling, Don Lucha is your guy. What a guy Don Lucha is. And on the podcast side of things, just things to listen to, on Spotify podcast or Apple Podcasts. Obviously, Insight with Chris Van Vliet, incredible podcast. He does some of the best wrestling interviews of all time. I've been saying I want to get into the interview game, and if I do, I want to do it like Chris Van Vliet. There's no one better than him when it comes to wrestling interviews. If you haven't been watching or listening to his podcast, you need to go listen to it right now. It is well worth your time. All the interviews are fantastic with some of your favorite wrestlers, and you get to learn more about who these wrestlers are, which is always very fun, very great listen. You know, you can do it throughout your workday, homework, schoolwork, whatever you've got going on. It's a great listen. Highly recommend it. Another website that I just love, and it's not really information based, but it is Dropkicked. Now, Dropkicked is somewhat like Letterboxd if you are a fan of movies. It's where you can go and rate wrestling events and matches. And I have a page on there. I really enjoy just being able to go and catalog what I have seen and how I felt about it at the time. And you can always change your rating. So if you go back and watch something later and enjoy it more than you did the first time, you can always change it to a better rating. But it is fun to see how you or your friends thought about these events in a 5-star rating. So I highly recommend it. I've had a lot of fun on it. It's been really cool. They have a huge catalog of events and matches. So you can pretty much get almost anything on there now. They are continually updating it and adding more and more promotions and more, just events throughout the time. So it is a personal project and is currently being worked on, and they are doing some great work. I'm very excited for the future of this website because I'm very much enjoying it now at its current state. Another website, we have Wrestling is Cool with Mr. Santi Zap. That podcast it's pretty good. I don't always agree with everything that they say on there. I will have to say that, but I think it's good to listen to things that you don't always agree with. I think you can get yourself into a bubble sometimes and only pay attention to things that you agree with. And when somebody gives an opinion that somewhat pops that bubble, it can kind of shatter a lot of things for you. And so having these outlets that you don't always agree with on rotation is pretty good. It kind of broadens your perspective while cementing what you believe. I think it's a good idea for even outside of wrestling, just your regular everyday thoughts and processes, to challenge those beliefs by listening to somebody who doesn't believe quite the same as you. That's kind of what Wrestling is Cool is. I like them a lot. It's a fun listen, but I don't always agree with what they say about things. So take that with a grain of salt, if you will, but I do recommend listening to it. Then the Ringer Wrestling Show is always a good one. Just a fun listen. I turn it on sometimes while I'm just at work, just have something on. It's a good listen, very entertaining. And the last one is the Wrestle Talk podcast. Another account that I can't recommend anymore. They talk about just about every single promotion. They do a really good job of posting news and making sure that they are very up to date and they're very current on what they talk about. So big fan of those. And all of this will be linked down in the description. So if there's something that you are very interested in, just go down to the description. I will have a link to the channel, or the Spotify page or the Apple page, or, whatever it is that you need to get to that medium. But that'll be it for this video. I'm very excited about something we have coming up in the future. And next week's video should be a very good one and maybe decisive. So we'll have to see. I'm still collecting information and doing a little bit more research, but next week should be a pretty good video, as well as Mondays and Fridays. We will have reaction videos out now. So make sure to check those out, and I will see you in the next one.